issue here with this theater for the new city thing. Hey, it's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Emil, I'm up to you. I just thought we should do this live show. We haven't done it in the last couple of days, and I've been saying that ever since the Oscars on Monday. I said we were going to do it, and then other things have happened. I'm in New York City doing this play called The Conductor, and at the last minute, for Thursdays, the open of the second week. We're here for 12 shows. The One of the other actors that I am an understudy to couldn't make it, and I had to study up her lines and then do my lines, and we did that show yesterday. And so uh, I'm back to doing just my lines for tonight and the rest of the weekend. So I feel more relaxed. And I thought, oh, well, I got to do a live show to talk about the conductor. Anyway, welcome to the program. This is my takes on all things considerable. We've been doing this show for now. This is episode 481. Coming up, I'm going to talk to Daniel Phil Gonzalez, the professor, San Francisco State College of Ethnic Studies, about the news. We're going to talk about the Oscars, of course. But first, I want to talk about this play that I'm in, the Conductor. It's Ishmael Reed's play, and if you don't know Ishmael Reed, he is probably one of the leading authors, African American authors, who has contributed to American arts and letters for the last 5 decades. I mean, he is the man, as you might say. He's in his 80s and he's still pumping it out. He's written a play called The Conductor. It's directed by Carla Blank, who is his wife. I am I play one of the white parts, which is sort of standard for me in Ishmael's plays. He's done about 4 or 5 plays. I'm usually cast in some. I was in one of his first plays, Hub City, where I played a Japanese uh, auto salesman. Here I play, and this is a stretch for me. I know I play a bombastic news commentator for a faux Fox news type channel, which is a stretch, as you know my politics. But that's what they call acting. Acting. Yeah. So the conductor, and why is it called the conductor? Well, you know about the Underground Railroad. Well, this is, as you know, Ishmael likes to satirize topics of race in America. And here he supposes or presupposes what would happen if Asian Indians were treated like Japanese Americans during World War II. If there was some kind of cataclysmic world event that caused the xenophobic levels to rise to such a level in America that Indian Americans were seen as the enemy and forced to flee. Far fetched? I don't know if you've read my columns on the ALDEF blog, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. You know, it's not that far fetched. In fact, the basis for re-invoking an internment type of policy is still on the books. The Supreme Court, which upheld it, they have not officially reversed it. It was a reversal in a lower court that no one ever bothered to come back up to the high court to reverse the high court's upholding of the incarceration of Japanese Americans. So the mechanism is still there, honestly. So it's not as far fetched as you think. The conductor is the name of a the person who runs the new underground railroad, except the people who seek the services of the underground railroad are Asian Indians. And it's an interesting satire. It's fascinating. I play uh, as I said, a commentator from a white conservative standpoint. It's funny. It's thought provoking. I think you'll like it. Now, here's what you do: you go to this link here if you're watching online. The It looks like ci.org ovationtix.com/35441. That'll take you to this page that I'm showing here, the Theater for the New City. And then you just go to pick a date. So today is the 17th. So you pick the 17th, right? Click on that. And oh, what do you know? The 17th comes up and you can buy a ticket. Look, the tickets are really cheap, $18. That's it. You know, most Broadway productions, if you go to Broadway, it's like 60 to $100, right? This is what they call off Broadway, and off Broadway is anything 99 seats to 500. Off is anything, 50 to 100. So I was in an off Broadway production in February, and now I've transferred into this off Broadway production. It's running March 9th through 26th. So here, you just pick a, one general ticket, and then you can come and go see the show. And then look, I know you're saying, Emil, I'm not in New York City. Come on, quit busting my chops to go to see your performance playing a white guy on a Fox News type channel. Yeah, but you can get the live stream. The live stream, you get a one live stream ticket. And I saw some of my friends have already gotten the live stream. The live stream's pretty good, high quality. They don't screw up technically. Uh, and it's like getting a ticket and sitting in the audience and seeing a production. So a lot of people get a little picky about, oh, when I see a live stream, I want it to be like the theater. All right, well, this is like the theater. It's not like a TV show. It's like there's a camera up in the stands or the in the audience, and it captures the wide view, and you see the actors, you see uh, you see them full wide. There's no real close-ups like in television, which some people say, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't sound very good. No, it's like being in the audience. So you can pick a live stream ticket, or you can go pick a general ticket, and come see the or be in person, or be in wherever you are, San Francisco, Hawaii, Europe, wherever. And so here is the little synopsis for the play. This is all on ci.ovationtix.com/35441. Once again, ci.ovationtix.com/35441. And ordinarily, Theater for the New Cities on First Avenue and 10th in the Village, the East Village in New York. Running time, hour 15 minutes. 155 First Avenue. If you go see it in person, if you're in New York, otherwise the live stream is available. So here's what they say, and then there's my name. I play a guy named Gabriel Noatalde, because Noatalde, it's fitting, right? Noatalde. Well, what do you know? I know it all day, all day. I know it. Uh, and there's some good people. Brian Simmons, who, as I speak, um, VCU. He went to VCU, and I taught at St. Mary's. And right now, VCU and St. Mary's are involved in the first round game at the NCAA's. Not going to be a spoiler about who wins, who loses, but I know that if St. Mary's advances over VCU, I will have a nice laugh with Brian Simmons, who plays Warren Chip, an African American columnist who is fired because he backed the San Francisco school board recall, or he backed the people who were recalled in the San Francisco school board recall. So there's a little local politics involved. You'll enjoy the play, I assure you. And you can't beat the price, $18 for a live stream ticket, or $18 for an in-person ticket. The Conductor, two-act play by Ishmael Reed. Catch it. You'll like it. You'll like it. I have enjoyed being in it. Let's bring in Daniel Phil Gonzalez. Dan, you've got to see the show live. Well,
Okay.
but
Yeah, yeah.
you'll have to
That's
see.
right. Yep.
It even
Okay.
mentioned San Francisco State College, and
Oh,
the
so
the
they go back to
rise.
the
Yeah.
70s, the 60s, and the 70s, I assume.
Well, it goes into the history about ethnic studies, and it talks. It's really a play um, against the forces of woke, anti wokeness, the people who are trying to shut down, um, say, history, and claiming critical race theory and claiming things are woke. So this is a defense for the woke toward the anti woke. And so that's why I think you'll like it.
Okay,
Yeah.
define woke.
Yeah. Well, woke is the thing that, like I said, it's the forces that are saying, well, we can't have diversity. We can't have history, or we can't have history that's critical of American life. That's the that's the anti woke view of of wokeness. Wokeness, and to the anti woke is simply people who see the truth and talk about it, right? I mean, what else?
Yeah, it's a level of social consciousness. It's a level of awareness. That's all woke means.
Yeah,
It's
and
aware, social conscious awareness of reality. Let's put it that way,
what?
and the
Yeah,
ability to distinguish between fantasy and reality.
and at the very least, I mean, as it's defined by you, that should be something that we should all aspire to. Since when is that a
Well, that's one
negative?
of the yeah, but that's one of the biggest issues facing American society and maybe the world today, because social media has made it very possible for people to live near fantastical versions of reality,
Yeah.
and
Well,
to dismiss what they want and accept what they want, however fantastic it might be,
so
however
it
however
suggests.
surreal.
Yeah, what you're suggesting is that people can live in their own bubble with their own set of facts and their own news, and they can discount everything else, even
They
the
can.
truth.
They
Even the
can.
truth.
Fact,
That
even
is
fact
the
and science. They do it every day. They do it every
yeah,
second of the day.
right. That is the scary part, where you can
Yes, it
say
is.
we've come to 2023. We've come to this time in our history where we can say, you know what? Truth, facts don't matter. And this is worse than 1984. This is
It's actually, you know what?
yeah.
Truth for many people doesn't matter, and those are the people who dismiss it outright. I
Mm,
think the conditions in this society right now are worse than just a dismissal of truth. They
mm,
actually take what they hear and see of truth and go beyond dismissing it. They actually develop a countervailing version of
right.
reality
Right.
to not only dismiss that truth, but to contradict it in its entirety. That's way further than simply dismissing it.
Well, if it's that bad as you say, how do we even how do we get a legal system, or a how do we get the rule of law? How do we get uh how do we determine what is legal or right or truthful in any kind of court proceeding?
Those are the huge issues that face a free society that is hoping to be democratic. The society about 35, 40 years ago, I started talking about this in my classes,
Hmm.
particularly in the politics and government class.
Hmm.
And what I talked about was the fact that the society has now gotten more democratic than it ever had been at any past time in its history,
Hmm.
and that one of the markers of that increased democracy is the level of participation by women, people of color, people of varied sexualities in the process. And so we're actually gaining office. They're actually being elected to office. And I said, um, the so-called right in American society, the people who masquerade as conservatives, right,
Hmm.
include among them the most racist and vilely misogynistic population in American society. So you can just start with that. Okay, just
Yeah.
start with those two elements, right? Um, and they constitute a much larger portion of the population than the rest of the country is willing to admit. And I said,
Yeah.
they have only begun to fight. And when they become desperate, the American society will see a level of threatened violence that they didn't even anticipate was possible. I started saying that 35 years ago, and I got called out for it.
Yeah. Well,
I got called out for it by students, by
yeah.
members of my own community, and look where we are.
Well, it took a generation or so, but if it's as high as 30%, which is as high as I've seen it, then you get the polarization between, say, the 30 that are like that and the 30 who are opposite, which means that's 60. That means the fight is for the 40% in the middle.
Exactly.
And
I think
and
that's
the
pretty good.
40%, yeah, and the 40% in the middle, who knows what they believe in? It just seems that they can go either way,
I
which
think
is
they
the real
earnestly
scary thing.
believe. I think they earnestly believe that American society was destined to be and should be a democratic society, and that it should be inclusive. The
Mhm.
question is whether or not they're willing to share authority, whether or not they're willing to recognize the legitimacy of
Yeah,
the and the full participation of people who are not part of the original power structure in
right.
American society.
Well, that
So
that that
that's
is the
where we're at.
key. I mean, if you look at the reaction to the census, you look to the reaction
Yep,
to the
sure.
numbers, and how the America is
What was
becoming
their reaction to the
diverse.
census as early as 1978? We
Right,
don't want to count you. We don't want to count you.
right.
And
Well,
then
I mean,
and
it's all a reaction to, well, we were the white supreme, and now we are less, and now we have to share power or share at least
exactly.
space.
Yes.
And that's what the basis of all this is, that
I want to
they're
share.
not
That's
interested.
exactly right.
They're not interested in this kind of, not just power sharing, but just being in equal spaces. I mean, so the idea of equality in America, now that push comes to shove, is really being tested, and a lot of people like the old equality, which is no equality. they
Well,
they
so
don't like it.
the reality is, and I'm talking about the data, and I'm talking about the social and economic reality,
Hmm.
is that many people of color are already participating at a level that is directly competitive against their white, people with a commensurate level of education
Right.
and experience.
Hmm.
Okay, and we've already been succeeding. So we are now in positions of real authority. Okay, that's not going to change. In fact, it's probably going to increase
Right.
for certain groups. Okay, and Ishmael has picked South Asians, right, as that group. Well, I
Mhm.
think that's pretty damn good. I mean,
Oh
I saw that
yeah,
coming. I saw that coming when I was in law school.
yeah,
You know
yeah.
who the newest owners of flop houses in the Tenderloin were?
Oh
It
yeah.
was new arrival South Asians. Okay,
Right.
and they were making money. They were doing well. They were starting to build mini malls. They were turning over the money that they were making from the flop houses, not only in the Tenderloin but also in the South of Market.
Of
Along Sixth
course.
Street.
Well,
And those
it's
were my enemies when
yeah,
I was working as a clerk for SNFLAF, the San
yeah,
Francisco
yeah,
Neighborhood Legal Assistance Foundation. I was clerking there while I was going to law school, and those are the people that I were fighting against. They were
yeah.
evicting people left and right, and I was using new law. The Green Defense, I remember, was a good one, and new cases that were coming up as I was experiencing this treatment of people of the lower classes
Right.
in the courts.
Yeah. By and they were smart, the Indians, or the Asian Indians, because they got into the monopoly game. I mean,
We're talking about 74,
oh
75,
yeah,
76, right? This is 40 freaking years ago, man. They
yeah.
were
I
doing
mean,
this. Okay.
they held on.
Yep.
I have some good friends who are, as they say, Patel hotel owners,
Oh boy,
and they're rolling in it. I mean,
they were rolling in it.
they got bigger hotels. They got, and
That's what
and
they did.
because of this, I mean, look at the Asians who are emerging as presidential candidates, right? Nikki Haley,
Yeah.
this guy Vivek Ramaswamy. I mean,
Oh,
these
oh,
are all anti woke, right?
yeah.
Asian people who want to be president, Asian Americans who want to be president. I
Yep.
mean, you don't see very many Chinese Americans or Filipino Americans or Japanese Americans or Korean Americans, because it's a money game, and who's got the money in the backing? It's in the
Yeah,
intervention.
it's not only money; it's organization
Mhm.
and it's commitment
Yeah,
to the political test, because
yeah.
it is a huge test. It's one of the most difficult things that you could ever do is go for national office.
Well, one of the things I will say though, as we mentioned other Asian American groups, you have to give kudos to the Hmong in Minnesota and
Right,
also
right.
to the Vietnamese in increasingly Georgia, as well as some parts of Southern California.
Yeah, talk
They
about Texas, also
and
in Texas.
oh, Virginia and Texas, right? Because
Yes.
that was the Vietnamese first, got to the bayou, um,
Yep.
in the
Oh,
70s.
remember all of the laws that came out of Texas to
Yeah,
try and stop them from fishing and the gill
right.
nets and then shrimping, and they were
Yeah,
making up laws to try
yeah.
and keep their population from making a living.
So you have like at least 50 years of Vietnamese in Texas, and so we have a we've had a kind of like a plug. These people have been plugged up, right, and prevented from going forward, even though they've managed to do what they've done. But now in 2023, there's this explosion
Right.
of Asian Americans, and we're seeing them more. And as you were saying, they're successful. We are, they're getting a part of the American dream, certainly, but it's only going to continue. And now I
Yeah.
think
Their second and third generations have done
yeah,
they've followed essentially the Jewish pattern.
yeah, yeah,
Their second and
and
third generations have gone to college and universities, and they've become professionals across the board in
right.
every area, every single area.
And so what happens now is that the formerly dominant or the normative, right, white, classes feel threatened, and this threat
Yeah,
has always been there since the first challenge to affirmative action laws in California. You
sure,
know
Baki.
they it's
Baki
always
started in
been
1975. Once again,
right.
while I was in law school, while I was clerking. So,
Yeah.
I had quite an educational experience,
but
frankly.
but but it's always been about this idea that, oh my God, you know how are we going to like make sure that we keep as long as the balance is cool, the whites were fine, but now the balance, their birth rates, their numbers are dwindling, more immigration. Well, they could do something about that, they could stop immigration, but there's people are having families, the numbers are showing browns and blacks outnumber whites, or we're all minorities, and how do we share this
Certain
may be
some
this
states, some states now, the whites are no longer the majority. So,
Yeah, so this may be
several
the
states.
this may be the challenge to our democracy that the forefathers may not have foreseen.
Probably not. Probably not. I'm sure there were some philosophers among them that might have envisioned the possibility, but it certainly wasn't the kind of thing that they were discussing, or else we'd see it. The
Yeah,
way that
well,
they were discussing the issue of race was how do we how do we set aside a portion of the society that these people can occupy?
well,
That's
well,
basically it.
yeah, well, hard to imagine that the forefathers, considering they were slaveholders, are thinking, well, one day our slaveholders are going to, outnumber
Our
us, and
slaves,
then
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
our
and
slaves are going to
then
participate, and they may compete directly against us.
right, and then what are we going to do? We're going to have to
Yeah.
turn into South Africa or something. I mean, that's the crazy thing about America, where American democracy is right now. So, in some ways, Ishmael's play, The Conductor, is a perfect example of where we are now, because it is fighting this anti-woke idea,
Yeah.
and it sees as the ground zero as the school boards, the boards of educations in local communities, because they're the gatekeepers of, it not just board of educations, of course, gubernatorial, folks, Ron DeSantis certainly is showing that example in Florida, but it's these regional and local political battles that are going to determine where we are nationally, I think. So,
Yeah, I
so,
agree.
so that I mean, and that was sort of, this is a very pro San Francisco school board, before the recall, a very pro San Francisco school, and I had my beefs with the woke school board. Uh, I think the problem with the woke school board is they really need to do some educational reform, um, as well as some of the cosmetic stuff that was suggested, like changing names of schools. That's the easy stuff. The hard stuff is how do you make sure that everyone gets represented or it gets an equal shot in schools, and how do you make sure that um, that the resources are there? Because it seems like if you don't have enough resources, no matter what you do in terms of tests, how do you get people into the kind of education that that you owe someone in America? If you don't have the resources, and if people aren't ready, how do you get everyone ready so they can partake in public schools? And it seems like there's just no real value placed on public schools like there used to be or like there should be. I just don't know where we're going with public education.
It's going to be the battleground. It's going to be
Yeah.
the major battleground because it affects future generations.
Yeah, and if we
Uh,
don't know, yeah, if we
yeah,
don't know.
and it's going to be fought on a local level. I mean, even within a state that's ostensibly more Democrat than Republican, like California,
Hmm.
like Washington,
Yeah.
there's going to be battles at the local level.
Yeah.
In California, once again, there's a group coming out of Shasta County that wants to break up California into two parts, with the
Hmm.
majority of the geographic area being quote conservative, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then the Bay Area all the way down to the coastline to San Diego being liberal,
Hmm.
blue.
Yeah.
So that's coming up again.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll happen, but
Well,
if anybody could do that, it would be Northern California counties because
well,
that's where the water comes from.
what a lot of people, their reaction to the woke anti woke debate is, well, let's just have a divorce,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
or let's secede, or
A
let's.
national divorce.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not. I think divorce would be a bad thing. I think we need to stay together for the kids. You know what I mean?
For the
I
future generations, yeah, yeah. That's
I
not bad. That's not
I
bad.
I think
Yeah,
we
but
have to
how about
stay.
if they get abusive?
Yeah.
You still
Well,
going to do that? Because
I think
what
we
if
have
we
to.
have an abusive majority and they start beating on us?
Well, I just
First,
think that,
first they killed the dog and then they beat the kids and the mom. And then,
yeah, it would just be terrible if the American experiment in democracy fails because we are too stupid to understand what's going on.
yeah,
And I think.
I don't think it. To be fair, I don't think it's just stupidity. Yes, they are, they are making choices, right,
Mhm. Mhm.
that keep them ignorant and uninformed. That
Mhm.
is not the same as stupidity. The
Mhm.
stupidity comes when they act on those beliefs.
Mhm.
That's because they're acting against their own best interests,
Oh
and
yeah.
that, I think, that's where I draw the line. I think when you start doing stuff that actually hurts yourself in immediate as well as long term, right? That's stupid.
Well, that was the example of Trump and people,
Well,
backing Trump in
what do you you
2016,
know?
2017.
They're susceptible to believing crap.
Yeah.
That was reality TV. Come
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
man.
Well,
He's a real businessman. That sickened me that he was number one for NBC. I mean, he was the big money maker for
yeah. Well,
NBC. Right?
what we should transition to this next area that seems to be the big question mark. When is Trump going to get indicted, and is that going to stop the Trump reelection juggernaut? Because,
No,
uh,
no, he could run even if he gets convicted.
oh yeah, yeah.
As long as he's not in jail, right? He could run, even if he gets convicted. So
Well, I
nothing's
mean,
going to stop that. Now
th-
the question is, is the New York, is the Manhattan DA's
th-
case? Will it? Two questions, right? Will it go forward? Number
Mhm.
one, and number two, can will he get a conviction? Could he get a
Right.
conviction?
Yeah.
I think it could go forward, but I really have doubts about him getting a conviction based on what I know now,
Yeah.
based
This
based
is
on what is
the
in the public record.
yeah, this is the Stormy Daniels
Yes, yes.
case,
So why
and
do I think that he might not get a conviction? Because this is small time in comparison to the other investigations and potential criminal charges
Yeah.
against the former president. Okay,
Right.
so but does that make the Manhattan action less valuable? And my answer is no. It's
No.
very
No.
valuable just because he goes forward. The
Yeah.
fact that there's an indictment and that the guy is going to be forced to show up, right, is
Mhm.
big time. That is a
Yeah.
big deal. Just making that threshold.
And it's also the image of seeing. I don't know if there's going to be a perp walk, or, but he'll have to be he'll have to be arrested. He'll have to be called, indicted.
Yeah. In
Indicted
Trump's case, it's more
presidential
like a perp
candidate.
shuffle. You know, it's more like a perp shuffle.
But every time I think about
I can
that,
guarantee it'll be a rhythmless shuffle.
oh yeah. well, I look back to Watergate, and I kept thinking, oh yeah, clearly Nixon can't be elected even after the stuff is coming out on Watergate, but he did. He got elected.
Yeah, yeah,
Nixon got elected,
yeah.
and
I
so,
mean, for the second term,
so
yeah,
it's happened. So, uh,
That's
well,
because
anyway, Alvin.
largely, you know why that happened? Because the Democrats moved too slow. They moved too slow. They were
Uh,
really scared to come forward, and there was a significant number of Democrats that were dirty themselves.
right.
So
Well,
when you say, okay, we're going to investigate the president, people are going to run right out there. That was my generation of law
yeah.
school graduates, right?
Oh yeah,
And
I know.
they were
Well,
really eager. They were eager to find the truth, and they were going to turn over rocks and go down rabbit holes, as far as they had to go. And
right.
that scared the hell out of both sides. But all of a sudden, people couldn't be going to the bathroom and having sex, through glory holes, in
Yeah.
DC.
Well, I also think some of it is due to the fact that the Democrats put up McGovern.
Oh
As
yeah,
much
yeah,
as
yeah.
much as I like McGovern, George McGovern,
Personally,
yeah,
yes.
he
Politically, weak sauce.
yeah, he was. I've met him post. I met him after he ran, when I was in Washington. Nice guy, but this is where nice guys in politics,
Weak
uh,
sauce.
they don't. It's like Jimmy Carter, and we pray
Another
for
nice
Jimmy
guy.
Carter.
Great
Nice
man.
guy.
Great man.
I met Jimmy Carter too. But it's sad that we're not, as a country, we don't go for these guys. We
No,
should.
we go for egotistical idiots.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I'm not just talking about the former president. I'm talking about all the people that get
all,
elected into
all,
Congress,
all of them. Look, all
Yeah.
of them, even the ones that you like,
Yeah.
have a problem. I mean, there's a reason why they get elected and win, and it's not because they're nice guys or nice people. They might be able to cover and turn it
Oh
on, but
yeah. No,
you
it's
know,
a knife fight. I mean, it is a knife fight, man.
yeah,
You got to
that's
be
the way.
ready for that. That's
All
one.
right, so
Yeah.
so so back to Trump. He's going to get indicted, and it's not going to have an effect. But
Yeah,
history
I don't think
history
he'll
will
get.
show.
Even if he gets convicted, it won't have that much of an effect. At least the Manhattan case. Okay,
Yeah,
but the important thing is that the indictment worked.
yeah,
Because once you can see that an indictment can work against this guy, then the other three major potential criminal charges, right,
hmm
are
hmm
are seen much more reality, right? The
yeah.
possibility, and they will be much more encouraged to move forward. Which one is the biggie in your opinion?
Well, I think Fonnie Willis's case in Atlanta.
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
that's the biggie. I think
Georgie, Georgie
I
is the one.
I like Alvin Bragg because I like his background. He was a Harvard College guy, went to Harvard Law, black guy, grew up in Harlem,
Yep.
educated black family, um, and he's lived it. He's lived it. He's seen from both sides. He's seen how the Privilege Act, but he's also been at the brunt of a lot of negative things because he's an African American.
Yeah,
You
he
know,
kept on getting stopped. He got stopped and frisked and
yeah,
dressed down and I
yeah.
don't know if any of that happened while he was wearing a suit, but
Well,
I'm not clear on that part of his history.
but I just think knowing his history, knowing what he's been through, I'm rooting for him. At the very least, you need a match, to light the fuse, and if he's the
That's the
match,
one. I agree. That's
that's
a good
good.
metaphor. It's
That's
a good
good.
metaphor.
But I think that Fonnie Willis, another African American prosecutor in Georgia, I think she's got she's got the big case, and then Jack Smith, he's the special counsel. He's got a big case.
Yeah,
That's but that
he's doing things that look like he's closing up his investigation. So
yeah,
yeah,
he's got January 6th, and he's got the Mar-a-Lago documents case, which probably is the easiest case.
it is. I
It's the
agree.
easiest of all.
I agree.
So so
Because it's so
it's
freaking obvious, man.
yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait, we've gone back two times more, and we keep finding stuff
And the thing about that case, it also features an Asian American from Guam, uh,
as a
Walter
witness.
Nauta.
He was a staffer.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
who I
That
believe
sounds
is
like a Ilocano name too. So
yeah.
yeah.
I think he's Filipino Guamanian,
Okay.
and he was a he was a steward in the White House, and then joined Trump. Made a six-figure salary, did whatever Trump said. I mean, dutiful Asian American, working, service guy. He got caught in it, so we'll see if how instrumental he is. Walter
Oh,
Nauta.
there's going to be some great books out after all this stuff clears.
Well, let's
You
hope.
know. Let's finish up on Trump. Here's my question. Right?
Mm.
Will he stay if he's successfully prosecuted and go to prison, or will he leave the freaking country?
I think he's got the Putin parachute all set to dive into some kind of big fancy condo in Moscow. I think. I don't know.
You think he could live there? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Putin's not safe either.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
maybe he'll go to Turkey. I don't. I just. I don't know. I think.
And what language is he? He's going to have translators with him the whole time, right? Or he's just going to live in a place where he can build in a gold toilet
Yeah.
seat.
He'll need food testers too.
Yeah,
Food tasters. I know it.
yeah,
We're
but
in
he only eats McDonald's. Remember? I mean, yeah,
we're
okay, that's easy.
we're in uncharted waters here. I think I'm not
Uh,
sure what happens to Trump. Okay,
yeah,
look.
I don't. He will not stay and go to prison. I'm going to tell you that he
Okay,
will
no,
not
no,
stay and go to prison. There's no way. You
yeah.
know.
I mean, he's going to move into my East Village apartment before he goes to prison. You know.
No, he's never going back to New York. He's not safe.
Yeah, yeah. He's
Yeah.
not safe in New York. All right. So look, let's talk about the big Asian
We just
Americans.
broke some new ground there, dude.
Yeah,
When I said, is he going to stay or is he going to leave? And I'm
yeah.
telling
I,
you,
well,
that guy's going to
let's
run.
see what
He's
happens.
not. He's not going to
Well,
take the medicine, dude.
let's talk about the big Asian American story. Since Sunday,
Oh, the
since
Oscars. I assume we're
si-
talking.
yeah, well, since Sunday, right? It's everything, everywhere, all at once.
That was a
I
great flick. Did you like the? First of all, did you like the flick?
well, let me say that I like the depiction of the modern depiction of the Chinese American laundromat
The
owners.
small business family. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a little weird fantasy. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to be into the sci-fi thing,
Yeah.
and I like the sort of the gender bender things, and the love and tradition and the martial arts. So it's a whole hodgepodge of things. It's just
Yes. Yes.
it's not, look, it is not Joy Luck Club, right? It is not. It is not. It is not.
That is not anywhere in this universe an apt comparison, man.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I'm just saying it's not Joy Luck Club. It's not the Good Earth. It is its own little special thing, and that's good for weird Asian Americans. It's our story. It's an Asian American flavored story, and it's good. But was it the best? I think it's going to freak out a lot of people who aren't prepared for that. That aren't prepared for the multiverse. Aren't prepared for hot dogs as fingers. That's, that's what I think.
That was one of my favorite funny parts, man. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
funny as hell.
but they're not even vegan hot dogs. They could have been vegan. They could have been vegan.
How
That
do you
was my
know they're not vegan, man? They didn't say
no,
pork
no,
or
no.
beef.
They said they're not vegan. They said they're not
Oh,
vegan.
okay, they're not vegan.
They're
Okay,
regular hot dogs. They could have been vegan.
okay.
All
They're
right, so
question
look,
mark meat of some source. Yeah.
well, but my some of the observations afterwards, and people can read what I said about it on the ALDEF blog, aaldef.org/blog. Look, I'm all for it because Asian Americans won. They've always won for Best Supporting Actor. Hang S. Nor won for Killing Fields. The woman who played Mrs. Livingstone in Eddie's Father, she won back in the 50s. You know, Best Supporting Actress. No one has won Best Supporting Actor who's been Asian. And so this is a breakthrough for Michelle Yeoh. But is she Asian or Asian American? That's the issue. And I think if you use Asian American in a generic way to describe Asians in America, okay, she's one of us. But there's some people who are actually, they'll say, Emil, she's Asian. And I'll
That's
say,
right.
yes, she was already a big international star. So, what's the point? She's Asian in America. She lives and works out of Hollywood. She's Asian enough and Asian American enough for me.
Yeah, but
So,
Ke Hui Kwan is Asian
yeah,
American.
Kehi Kwan he was a refugee. He's got
Yep.
a great story. So here's the question. Does this mean that Asian Americans will get more roles? I mean, it's a breakthrough. I mean, I called it the golden spike that connects Asian Americans to the movies in a big way. Will we be considered? Will people be talking about casting Asian Americans and things like, will Kehi Kwan play Macbeth in the new remake of Shakespeare, or will he play
I
you
don't
know what
think
I mean?
he's. I don't think he's enough type to play
See,
that
that's the
character.
thing.
Peter.
It's always about type. It's always
Yeah,
about are
yeah,
you
but I'm not thinking type race doesn't work. I'm thinking. I always saw Macbeth as
guy
a
that kills?
masculine, a very masculine guy,
So
and Kehi is not. He's not
so,
buffed and.
but maybe Michelle Yeoh could play Macbeth.
Wow, do a switcheroo.
Yeah, and she knows the martial arts. Well, look, the point is I wanted to be optimistic and say yes, it's going to make people see Asians,
No, I don't think
but
so. I don't
but
think it's.
what?
I don't think
Well,
it's going to change that much. The
mhm,
key
mhm,
is producers. That's the
right,
key. There
right,
are many Asian American producers, and there are several that are very successful. Like Dean Devlin, for example. He's got
right,
TV shows, right? He's been
mhm,
making money off his TV series and film as well, some movies
mhm.
as well. And he happens to be what, half Filipino American.
Yeah,
His
yeah,
grandfather was Colonel Al Hernandez, the master spy of World War II.
mm.
Yeah, that's his grandpa. So
Oh, well,
there are people like that.
Yeah,
There are others. Lope Yap, is pretty much retired from Hollywood, but he's had a lot of credits to his name.
yeah.
In
Look,
Hollywood produced
I,
film.
you got a good point. It's the producers call the shots. They have
That's
the
right.
money, and if they have the money, they're gonna pick whoever they
There it
want.
is.
If they want Kehi Kwan to play Macbeth, they will have
What
Kehi Kwan
we
play
know
Macbeth.
now is that what people didn't believe in when when Joy Luck
Mhm.
was set to debut, people didn't think there was a market, and
Right.
they're really stupid because it turns out that there was a market, and then the follow up with Crazy Rich, right?
Hmm.
Proved that there was a huge market,
Yeah.
And
Well,
so the neat thing about this film is that it was done very inexpensively,
yeah.
you know. It was produced really inexpensively, but the concept of the film and the quality of the acting was so good. You didn't mention the quality of the acting, and
Well,
for
I mean, it
me,
won. It won the Oscar.
yeah, yeah,
Won,
well,
won three
okay,
Oscars.
okay, but that doesn't, there's a lot of people who I thought should have won the Oscars that did a better job in their respective films. In this instance, even though Kwan was kind of a surprise, right? He earned it. I mean, he was really great in this flick. So
Yeah, yeah. He was
uh,
good. He was good.
I
But
like I liked the daughter's role. I thought she did a good job.
all the actors
It was
that and
really good.
that's an important modern storyline too,
Yeah,
right?
and the parts of it that reflected the Chinese American family, small business family, right?
Mhm.
It's very realistic.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
the science fiction stuff and the multiverse and everything was crazy, but that element, right? The sort of core, right at the core, That was
Yeah,
really good.
at the beginning, when they're eating, when they're making the noodles and eating out of the rice cooker, I related to that. I
Yeah,
mean,
and they're talking about having to get ready for the celebration, right? Who's going
yeah,
to do what, and the assignment of tasks and responsibilities,
yeah.
all that stuff.
I mean that
You
that
know,
that
the attitude of non-Asians,
yeah.
non-Chinese, right? And how do you deal with them?
No, no.
Yeah.
Look, I thought it was a good film. I think A24, they were the ones behind the studio behind it. I think they discovered, like you said, there is an audience for this, and they're going
They
to
did the
find.
whale too, didn't they? Do the whale? They did the whale too, I
I don't
think.
know, but
Yeah.
here's the thing: they know they don't have to. They don't have to bust the bank
Yep.
in
There
order
you go.
to get the audience, and they know right now in 2023 there are all these different ways to reach an audience. So the next Ali Wong film is on Netflix. It's called
Okay.
Beef, and it features an Asian American suburban woman who gets in a little car beef with an Asian American guy, and it develops into a real revenge kind of thing. And I've only seen the trailer. It looks good, but A24 is behind it. They got good actors. You got Ali Wong, who's a big star now, and uh, she, like we're getting out of origin tales. We're getting out
She's
of
pretty good
Joel.
on orgasmic stories. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, she's into sex a lot. Her very first role, I think, was in um, an Oliver Stone film called Savages, where she plays a sexed out um, Asian woman, and so but that goes in. If you've seen her comedy act, it's all part of that.
oh yeah,
Yeah, but I just think that we are now,
she's one of Linda's favorites.
yeah,
That
we're
was
ready to see a kind of out there Asian. We're out of the origin story and we're more into just a kind of an authentic story, which is good. I mean, it shows the real diversity within the community. That's good. Um, and as you say, you have producers with the money. They will find the audience. They will find the movie, get it on Netflix. There's all sorts of ways to find the audience. You don't
Well,
hesitate.
yeah, yeah, you're right. First, there's the producers, and then and there has to be the word, the
Mhm.
word. There has to be a story, that the producers are willing to take the risk with.
Well,
And
I think they have developed a new generation Asian audience that I would say is 12 to 45, 12 to 35. Really, the same group that loves
God,
BTS.
I guess I shouldn't be watching this shit, huh?
Well, the thing is, if the
I,
same group,
I'm
the same,
I'm only double that. I'm double that freaking
yeah. Well, you know,
category. I'm triple the early one.
those of us who are outsiders, can appreciate it just for its historical value and the evolution of the culture. But I'm saying that they've got an audience out there that is, jumping all over BTS, jumping all
Oh,
over,
sure.
you know, uh, anything, Asian food. Uh,
Yeah.
they're, and look, here's
I
the
thought
thing.
that was cool too. I mean, some of the music that the Oscars, orchestra played was
Yeah,
like BTS stuff
yeah,
going to the breaks. I said, "Hey, man, that's butter."
yeah.
That was cool.
Well, one of the things is that well, it's just I just think we're at a good time where things are opening up. I really think like to see Oscar. I called Oscar the golden spike that connects the Asian American, the broader Asian American community with the culture through the Oscars, and I think. It may be asking too much for Kehi Kwan to play in say an update of Macbeth or Hamlet or something like that.
I could see him
But
doing a
we're
Hamlet.
yeah, Hamlet, the prevaricator, the waverer. But I think that I think it's a positive sign. I think it's a positive sign, and I'm glad it's happening while I'm here acting
Yeah.
because. Uh, I only did this role here because I know Ishmael, and he casted me. He just wanted me to comment on the script, and as I was giving him some comments, he wrote in a part for me, and that's why I'm doing this play. And then it coincided with this Fringe Festival where I did my one man show. Here's one thing: I enjoy doing one man shows much more than I do these collaborative things, because when it's on you, and you've got no understudy, it's you, and it's exciting, and um, I love that. However, being a part of like a 5, 6 person cast, it's like teamwork. You play. It's like being part of a team, and that's exciting in its own way too. And so I don't mind. I don't wish I had more lines, although I had more lines last night because I was one
You
of
had to
the.
sub for somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to do
Uh,
two roles.
yeah. Uh, Actually, we figured it out so I could be the same character, but with I could read her lines.
Different dialogue. Okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't like I had to put on a dress and a wig or anything like that.
Oh, too
But
bad.
that would have been interesting. That would have
Too
been
bad. Yeah.
a gender bender.
It
So,
would
but
have made. Yeah, it would have made some splash for
yeah,
sure.
but I definitely appreciate the whole acting thing, and I really enjoyed my stay in New York, and I want to come back. I mean, the one thing about being on stage is you do feel alive. I mean, you don't go on stage and you don't you know get out of the dressing room and go out there unless you are ready to be alive. And there's something about the live audience. I will say one positive thing about the overall societal thing about COVID. This is the first time in 3 years that I've been out of out and about without a mask. And I'll say I wear a mask maybe, whereas I'm always 100% masked. Uh, in New York, I'm about 60/40. I'll go to a restaurant unmasked, I'll eat, I'll talk. I went to a big party, 400 people the other day, and I was unmasked for about half the time. I kind of regret it because you get close to people at a party, at a
That's a risk.
cocktail
Yeah,
party. It's
that's
kind of risky
definitely a
because
risk.
you get the
So, did you test?
plosives.
Did you
Huh?
take a home test?
Not yet, but I don't feel any symptoms.
So you
I,
could
I
still be carrying, dude.
oh yeah, well, that's all right. I got a
Be
home
a
test.
good man. Go
I'll
take
take my
that test.
I'll take my home test. It
Yeah.
actually, the party was Tuesday, so this is a day to test. So I'll test today.
Yeah. What's
Yeah,
today? Friday.
today's
Okay.
Friday.
Yeah. 3 to
Yeah,
5 days. Yep.
so this is
Okay.
a good day to test. I've taken one test since I've been out here, so I'm very mindful of the whole public health COVID thing. But I have to admit, it gets to a point where you start seeing other people out there, and only like 20% are masked, if that.
Don't go to Mexico.
Yeah, yeah. I'm telling you, I don't mind being the minority. I just sometimes I'll just forget, to mask up
Me
because
too.
I don't see other people. But I'm out of the house. I'm not staying in all the time, and so that's a positive. So anyway, so that's one of the things of being an actor, and who knows? I may do. I'm trying to book some more time to do my show, maybe back in the Bay Area. So I'll do Emil Amok, Lost NPR host back in the Bay Area. There's a couple other fringes that I'm looking to that I might get accepted to, and so maybe more acting in 2023 coming up. But and I think they're looking at maybe the Conductor coming to the Bay Area, maybe, but because it's had a good run in this theater in
How many seats in that one?
it's a it's it's 100 to it's like a couple hundred it's a couple
Well, that's
hundred
good. That's
seats,
good.
yeah. And
Is it
we
black box? Is it black box? Does it
oh
have a
no, no,
base
it's a
under the
proscenium
stage?
stage, proscenium stage.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. I mean, but it's yeah. Check out the live stream. The live stream, if you're watching
I will.
online, ci ovationtix.com/.
Yeah, I already have the page up.
Yeah, it's a good live stream too. So anyway, Dan, in the time remaining, we should talk, excuse me, a little bit about the whole banking thing, because that kind of dominates the news, but no one seems to understand or care much about it. Although
Oh, I think they do.
they
I
do,
think they care. I think they care. It's just that, as you just said, the latter part of your statement was they understand it. They don't understand it. They
yeah,
care because they're worried about other banks following the same path,
mhm,
and then the government can't be covering for everybody, right?
right,
And evidently, the Biden administration was able to talk some of the bigger banks to save New Republic, right? But it's not a good sign, and I think people are aware of that potential risk. So they're watching what's happening with their own banks, particularly small to medium-sized banks. I'm
yeah,
concerned. My money's in, it's in a couple of banks as well, but the bulk of my trading happens through a credit
credit union,
association, yeah, or
yeah.
union.
Well, usually they're not covered generally by FDIC.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
That's why I'm concerned.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's the thing about credit unions. Although they give you better rates, and some of the banks that were covered by FDIC that have been in trouble gave better rates to corporations like high tech startups, people looking for who
well,
had
that's
risky.
definitely SVB. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
definitely what they were doing.
but First Republic was not necessarily that way, and the reason why these banks failed, it wasn't necessarily because of deregulation, although deregulation doesn't doesn't help, but
That's right.
it was more for the kind of investments that the boards made of these various banks.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
And, it's not only their officers; it's their board of directors too. I mean,
right.
there's an oversight function, right?
Yeah,
And
it,
there's a fiduciary responsibility.
right.
Uh,
It's hard to to point a finger here, except that people now understand what banks are and what they're not, and I think the real problem with banks is that it is really based on trust, and this is where I think it's valuable to look at the bank situation and look at our democracy, because what is it when the government you know does its best to try to back up a bank? It's capitalism backing capitalism. And and because they know that when there's no trust, there's a run on banks, and once you have one linchpin fail, there it goes. I mean,
yeah,
the whole
that's right.
system fails because
That's right.
there's no trust. But
That's right.
this is exactly what's happening with our democracy. When you have the media and no one you can trust there, and you have, a divided government, you can't trust one over the other. You got a court that is now a Supreme Court that is now more political than not, and you have no one trusting anybody except maybe the people who really want to trust Fox News, which is like not exactly the way you should. They're so untrustworthy.
I think that's a good point. I think the fact that a majority of people are uncertain,
Mhm.
and that the people who are most certain about the reliability of their sources of information are the people who are committed to sources of false information.
Yeah,
That is really the crazy part, you know.
yeah. I am so. I don't know if I've ever really been more distressed about the future of our democracy. But when I see how bank runs happen and how bank runs fall on just one little thing of trust, failing, uh, it's not so far fetched to look at our democracy and see how, if there is no trust at all, what do we have? We have this woke, anti-woke debate. We have this whole, which is a false debate, really. I mean, it's a
It
real
is. It
debate,
is.
but it's really a false debate
It
that
is a
should not.
completely false debate.
Yeah, and it should not. It should not be the thing that our democracy hinges on. But
Things that should be naturally bi or even multi-partisan. Issues that should be easy to deal with.
yeah,
Healthcare, for example, should be easy to deal with. Um, Abortion, not so much, but healthcare in general, it
Yeah.
should be easy to deal with, and that has been overly politicized from the right. And
Yeah.
so, what we've had is 50 years of experience with incremental movement forward, and all of that movement coming mostly from the left, from the moderate left, and from the center left, okay, with
Mhm.
some participation from the center right. That's the way it was working, even up until Bush 1 administration. But
Mhm.
since that time, there has been a hardening of the right and a movement to the extreme right. And so now, what is seen as being moderate, or what we should see as being moderate and something that is susceptible of bipartisan support, is
Mhm.
now seen as being woke,
Yeah.
and it's dismissed. And people say, "What do they mean when they say woke?" And I say, "Well, there's a meaning that comes from its origins in the black community and the left, okay, and then
Mhm.
there's this meaning that's been attributed to woke by the right." And they said, "Well, what do you do?" I said, "It's a very simple exercise. Take your favorite racial or sexist epithet
Mhm.
and put that wherever the right people on the right, including the former president, including the wannabe next president, Mr. DeSantis, okay, and substitute your favorite racial epithet for their use of the word woke, and it'll work every time. Then you will understand exactly where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Try it; it
Yeah.
works."
It's a anti-BIPOC racist
Yep.
uh, bit of rhetoric that they have, that they've really kind of commandeered, and um, like I said, I'm distressed that this is the the pillar of trust that, unlike a run on a bank, it's a run on democracy, and that is, and then
Well,
who
it's
backs that
only
up?
possible. You know why it's possible for it to happen?
Yeah,
Ignorance.
yeah. That's
It's
why you need
ignorance.
education. I mean,
Well, but they don't want us to teach that. They don't want
right,
us to teach the way that politics really works,
and
because
that's
they manipulate politics and they cheat at every turn, and
and
they
that's
don't want to be called cheaters. But for the last 50 years, they have used methods that stretch the envelope
mhm,
beyond what was intended, to
mhm.
be the function of government. and
Well,
and and they what is voter suppression, okay, and gerrymandering.
mhm,
Between those two things, we've been seeing that actively. Gerrymandering has been used in divisive ways for 100 years. I
sure,
mean, all you got to do is go back and look at the source of the word,
yeah,
gerrymander.
yeah,
and,
yeah. I
and
mean, I'm just, I just hope that people, when they look at the bank situation and they see the government backing up the banks, here, in terms of, I hope they broaden out what they're seeing to our democracy. But who's going to save our democracy? You don't have the government. There's
That's
more
right.
people distrustful of government,
it
and,
you know
more
it's going to
people who
come
just,
down, yeah, it
I
comes
mean,
down to the public, and it comes down to the voting public particularly,
yeah, I mean,
right?
because there's no backstop for. I mean, there's a backstop, fortunately,
We
for
are the
banks.
backstop.
Yeah,
We are the backstop.
right, right, right.
The people are the backstop.
And we're divided, and we don't get it, and there's going to be a run on democracy, like, I think that's more treacherous than the run on the banks, and that's what made it real. So as soon as I saw the bank thing, I said, oh yeah, that's what's happening politically in our country, when you have people saying we need to get a divorce from each other, we need to secede, or
You
no,
know
we
what?
need to work
My
together.
answer is, yeah. But if they want to try to do that, they should try to do it. I think they'll fail. Okay,
Oh
and
yeah,
that's why I want them to try. Okay, so
yeah.
just as I'm calling out all of the idiot right wingers in especially in the lower house, in the House of Representatives,
Mm,
and they keep opening up their mouths and sitting in their own mouths and defecating, right? As
mm,
they should just keep doing that. As far as
yeah,
I'm concerned, keep it up, keep
yeah,
it up, because even the people who voted for them will get to the point where they've had enough.
yeah.
They've had enough.
Well, I think you're right about that. So Dan, we've covered a lot of ground here, and I still don't know who won the St. Mary's VCU game.
What? I thought it only had 4 minutes to go,
They
and that
did
was like
only
an
had four
hour
minutes,
ago.
but I didn't get the final score. But I'm looking it up now. VCU, Virginia Commonwealth. Where I stayed one year. I stayed in a dorm at VCU. Um, oh my. Oh yeah. St. Mary's won 63-51. Okay. I'll have bragging
Ooh,
rights.
ooh, they had a run.
Yeah. I have.
St.
I'll
Mary's
have.
had a run
I'll have bragging rights with the lead
with your
in the
cast
play that
member.
I'm in,
Yeah.
Brian Simmons. He's a VCU
All right.
BFA in theatrical arts.
Well, this is the time. You know, who was it? Somebody went on camera and said that Gonzaga was a mythical institution. It didn't really exist. And that it only exists for the purpose of going to the making it to the Fabulous Four every March.
Yeah.
But I was cracking up, man. I said, "Ooh, you don't want to piss off the Jesuits, man.
Yeah. Well,
They got, you know, that's
we
that's like that's the opposition to the Knights Templar,
yeah. Well,
you know,
Saint Mary's, they're Christian brothers.
the Christian Brothers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're Christian brothers. So they're
Gonzaga's Jesuit, USF's Jesuit, Santa Clara Jesuit.
yeah. See, the Christian brothers, they're not a joke, but
No, they're come on,
they're
lighten up.
almost.
They're cool. They're
No,
cool.
they
I,
have
I
the
I didn't think
wine.
that much of them when they sold the winery,
Yeah,
and their label for the
yeah,
brandy. My dad really liked their brandy for some
yeah.
reason.
The Christian brothers, they're cool, but like I said, they were not the most rigorous school, and and
Come on, even I went to the rigorous school, okay, and and we were pretty light on them. I mean, we did make fun of them and all the rest of that
yeah,
stuff, but we didn't ride them for that thing.
yeah. Well,
Reardon has come up, because it stayed all male,
yeah.
and they occasionally have a really good local teams, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I forget. Reardon was. They weren't Lasallian, were they? No.
I can't remember what they are.
These Catholic sects.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
SECTS. You'll
So
have to be
yes, that was
careful with
right.
that
So
because
I think a lot of
Oakland and
people.
Santa Rosa diocese are planning on going bankrupt. I think Santa Rosa already
Santa
filed for
Rosa?
bankruptcy. Yeah, they
Wow.
filed for that diocese is filing for
No, no.
bankruptcy.
Look, if you're a Catholic diocese, it's a smart thing to file for bankruptcy because you can't afford all the sex claims,
Yeah,
and that's the reality. So
yeah.
what they're doing is, and this is like a standard thing for all church. This is one of the things that bothers me about the church. I mean, I during COVID, I have not gone into a church, and it's helped me sort of keep my distance from the Catholic Church because I could say, settle your sex problem, and I'll go back to church maybe. But I'm still a believer. I'm just not a believer in the organized church.
I'm with you. I'm right with Jesus. I'm just not right with the church.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm right with Mr. Loaves and Fishes. I'm right with Mr. Deaf Mutes. I'm just not good with
Yeah,
the
well, that brings us right back to American politics again.
yeah,
What happened? People say, yeah, you were doing all this stuff for the poor,
yeah.
and that's crazy. And I say, are you familiar with the eight beatitudes? Are you
Oh yeah.
familiar? You
See,
know,
how about this? When Pence comes out and says, "Oh, Trump's a bad Christian," like we really should pay attention to that. I guess if you want a good Christian, then let's make that an issue, and then maybe we should all vote for Marianne Williamson because I think she's a pretty good Christian.
yeah, she is without actually wanting to be Christian or identified with that.
Right, right. But I think she's a good person. I think if people want to go uh, if they want to go, religious, then they should, be more broaden it out and include spiritual people like Marianne Williamson and see that she's probably a better president than any of the Republicans who have any kind
Woohoo!
of, or any Democrat for that matter. I mean, her politics aren't that weird or strange, and she's very liberal, very progressive, but she definitely on the religious front, I would say she's better than a lot of these conservative pro-Christian fascists.
Yeah, yeah. There you
I
go with
mean,
the word. Have you noticed that the media is starting to use authoritarian and they're backing away from fascist?
oh yeah,
There's
yeah,
there's
fascist.
only a few reporters and commentators who are making that comparison now, and instead they're using the word authoritarian.
This is the thing about journalists that you can get bullied for unless you're an opinion guy. I tend to be more on the opinion side than straight reporting. But this, but you get some influencers like AP Style, and every news organization goes to their style book and say, okay, I'm sure there have been some conversations about, do we use fascism? Do we use fascist? Do we use brown shirt? Do we use when do we use these? When do we use certain terms? Like in my day, there was a big deal about, do we say anti-abortion or do we say uh,
Pro
you know
life.
pro-life? Yeah, or do we when do we say which? And how do you report something without being beholden to the rhetoric of the people you are covering? How do you stay objective? I mean, this is basic kind of journalistic practice. However, it is interesting that you noticed that I've heard authoritarian come up more often
Yeah,
now than
increasingly so over just the last 2 weeks.
yeah,
I saw a sudden switch.
yeah, than fascist. Maybe
Yeah.
it's because, well, fascist sounds almost inflammatory.
Yeah, I think it's because people immediately associate fascism with Hitler.
Yeah, or
But,
yeah,
but
or how about
and so they don't want to make that comparison, right, with Hitler.
or
But
how about just in Filipino news or history, calling Marcos a dictator versus
right,
calling Marcos, you know,
an
uh,
authoritarian.
or a martial law gangster or something. But
Authoritarian.
I mean, but these words mean something in a straight news report, but in an opinion, it it should. I think a writer or a reporter who deals in opinion, reported opinion, has a right to say
Fascist.
to say fascist, yeah, and to use it interchangeably if he wishes. However, he or she will just have to defend
Yeah, you're going to get
the use
attacked.
of the term
That's right.
because you'll be a target. You say, well, how do you call Donald Trump
I
fascist?
was targeted on committee. I was on a
Yeah.
committee that where my politics and my statements should not have ever been involved.
Right, right.
And
And people will, right, they'll go after people like, you know, don't call Donald Trump a fascist. He's a fetishist, but not a fascist. Okay.
Oh no,
All
too
right.
many images. Too many images came to mind. Particularly his daughter at the young age of 13 or 14 sitting in his
Oh,
lap.
that's right.
No.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Dan, I'll be back in San Francisco soon, but I have seven more shows.
Right
Seven
on.
more
I
shows.
will definitely watch a live one.
Yeah,
And
or live stream, because you're not
yeah.
in New York. But
Well,
unless
you
you're in New
can,
York,
you can buy the ticket to get, the right to view it on what do they call it? Flu stream or something? It
live
starts with an
stream,
F.
live stream.
Okay. No, they
Yes.
had a special term on there when you buy the ticket. I forgot what it is, but I'll make sure I watch it.
Yeah, yeah.
We will
All
we
right.
will sit with the kind of stuff that you can do when you're not in the theater. Some theaters you can though. You can drink.
Yes. Yes.
You can at least drink. I think that's cool.
Yeah. I think
Food. I don't know. I don't think you should have food.
you
But
can. I think you can drink at this theater. You can
yeah,
drink at this theater. They serve wine outside. I
yeah.
don't
You
think you.
remember the Larkin Theater, that one small theater in the
Hmm.
city?
Hmm.
Yeah, and they had that. It was a very close theater, and they had a bar.
Uh-huh.
Immediately out the mezzanine, right?
Uh,
So you could step down and There was the bar. I like that place.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to search out a little theater. And maybe I'll do it again at the Manila Town. I did one show at Manila Town. We got about 100 people in there, but
Wow, that's a full house for
I know
that
that's
space.
cramped. We had 70 to 100. Tickets were reasonably priced. I might try to find a small. Um, maybe do you have access to the theater at San Francisco State? Maybe we could do something there in their black box or something.
The black box is pretty small, man. That's like 50 to 70.
Yeah,
Then
that's good enough.
the next one up is Knuth Hall,
Knuth.
which is over 100 or maybe 200, and then the big one is McKenna.
What the Knuth, is that the one that's in the humanities building?
All three of them are in no, all three of them are in the Creative Arts Building.
What's the auditorium space in the humanities building?
There's a couple of spaces. I can't remember the room number, but I know what you're talking about. But it's really like an amphitheater classroom.
Yeah,
You know, the better spaces are definitely in creative arts.
in the theater. Okay, well,
Yeah,
maybe if you can get me a deal there, maybe we'll bring the show. We'll produce it.
yeah. Well, let's take a look at the black box. I mean, that the Knuth is a little too big, and but the black box is pretty intimate and small.
A
I
hundred
have to see
seater,
how that works.
a hundred seater would be good. A hundred
Yeah.
seater would be good, and we do multiple shows. That'd be fine. Okay, listen, Dan. All right, here I say goodbye to you. Thank you
Right.
very much for
Uh,
bringing the show.
I do got to go. So
All
thanks for
right,
having me again.
all
We
right,
covered a lot of territory and we
yeah,
set some parameters. Will
yeah,
he stay? Will
yeah,
he stay or will he go?
yeah. Not
Okay.
not Dan,
Will
not Dan,
Will
but Mr.
Mr.
Trump.
Trump jump?
Yeah. All right, let's
Will
see,
he
let's
do the?
see, let's see.
He'll do the Trump jump. I'm telling you.
Okay. All right, there he
All right.
goes,
Thanks
Professor
for having
Daniel
me.
Phil
Have a
Gonzalez.
great weekend. Break a leg. You know.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. There he is,
All right.
Daniel Phil Gonzalez, College of Ethnic Studies, San Francisco State University, my friend. We just chat about the news. We like to talk. We like to talk. And he's going to go see the show. I'm in the show Theater for the New City, The Conductor in New York City. If you're in New York City, you should definitely see the show. If you go to this website, https://ci.ovation.tix, OVATION tix.com/35441. Hey, it's the Conductor. Look how inexpensive the tickets are. And today's the 17th, but we have 18th and the 19th. We have 7 more shows. Yeah, Ishmael reads The Conductor, 2-act play. Um, $18. It's cheap, and you can just click here and get a general admission ticket if you're seeing it live, or you can click down here and get a live stream ticket. And the live stream is a very enjoyable way to watch it if you're in San Francisco or Hawaii or wherever you are, in Oakland. Catch it. It's the Conductor. Here I am. It's good to be here with you. And this is Emil Takeout. It's been somewhat truncated over the last, I guess it's been a month, last few weeks, because we've been in New York, and so that it's been every other. We're infrequently live, but catch my column on the ALDEF blog, aaldef.org/blog. Catch it there. And let's see, what else? Something happened to our music. We had music, and oh, there it is. It's just good to have music sometimes, you know. It just stopped on us. Let's see. Oh, it did not repeat. That's why. So anyway, but we'll be doing it again. You can watch repeats on amok.com. Thank you for joining us. What I found is that I've been using Instagram and using the reels on Instagram, and it's been fun. It's been fun to use the reels. So maybe I'll do one on Reels today before the show. The show's at calls at 6. Oh my God, it's already 5:30. All right. Um, Regular listeners know that we like to meditate on this show. Simple act of loving kindness boils down to this: these phrases. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time.